Well, good morning. It's November the 17th, 2025, and straight from the highly caffeinated studio, this is According to Willie B., and I am your host for the next half hour, give or take a minute or two. So, today is part 7 of the Great BFF trip. We have 3 more shows after this one to wind up the whole 10-part series. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, because I have absolutely enjoyed reminiscing on this trip. It is, even though it's not been that long ago, some of the things are still, I'm finding are slipping my memory. But hey, that's the thing that happens, right? Okay, so today we're going to talk about Portland, Maine. So after we finished up with Mount Washington, we drove on into Portland, Maine, and we stayed at a place called Higgins Beach Inn. And it was renovated, a full renovation back in 2017. And it's your classic Maine beachfront inn, if you will. But it was absolutely phenomenal accommodations. The people were so nice. I will tell you, once again, they did not have an elevator. No fault of their own, but we might should have, with the amount of luggage that the 4 of us had, we should have done a little more investigation. And but you know what? It all added to the memories of it. The other couple we were traveling with, Dan and Kelly, they were so gracious as to switch with us since we had stayed in the 3rd floor on the previous one. But they, I think they were in for a real treat because the stairs were even more immense than the first one. So I really felt bad. But, they wanted to do it, so we let them, and it's all good times moving forward. So we drove on into Portland from Mount Washington. It was about a 2.5 hour, or about 2 hour and some change drive over to Portland, and we wanted to get there early enough that we could at least explore Portland for a little bit. Our original plan was just to get to Portland midday and explore Portland and then get up the next morning and drive into Boston. But we enjoyed Portland so much, we wound up and explored Portland, and then we stayed over for a few hours the next morning. And so that's why I say that was absolutely my most favorite stop of the entire trip. Yeah, I think even more than Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls was cool, don't get me wrong. New York was absolutely fantastic. I love New York City. I can't wait to go back. But Portland was just a place for me that I had always wanted to go. When I owned a restaurant in Carterville, Tennessee, we served a lobster roll, and we became very well known for that lobster roll. And my clientele would tell me, because there was a lot of people in Carterville from Maine and up on the eastern seaboard, and they would tell me, oh man, there are these places and you go and you can have these lobster rolls right there on the waterfront, and it's just the coolest thing ever. And of course, my mind is I had never been up in the Northeast, and so my mind's creating all these images of what it's like. And so this was an absolute bucket list location for me to go and try. So we're going to dive into all this. But our first stop after we got checked into the hotel and got all of our luggage settled and everything was that we went and checked out the Portland Head Lighthouse. Say that one time fast or one time just slow. But hey, I no word salad so far, so that's good. This is the oldest lighthouse in Portland. And it's in Cape Elizabeth, and it's in the Fort Williams Park. There's a museum. There is hiking trails. Now, the lighthouse you can no longer go into. And I'm sure because of just the age of it, it probably wouldn't go very well for so many thousands of tourists to go inside that lighthouse and just, kind of destroy the history. So I totally understand that. But man, it was so cool just standing there in the awe presence of it. I just really enjoyed it. I had never in my life been that up close to a true actual lighthouse. And especially to be up on the eastern seaboard, kind of thing like you would hear in stories about the lighthouse, and it was just so cool. It was just it was very awe inspiring. But there's a museum. There's this massive park, the park Fort Williams Park. There's a word salad. The Fort Williams Park had so much to offer. You can have picnics on the grounds. Now, when we were there, because it was late afternoon, it was kind of windy, and of course, being right there on the water, duh. And then it was kind of chilly a little bit, but it didn't stop us. We had an absolute phenomenal time at checking out the lighthouse and getting some great videos, some great footage, which I will put up on Instagram tomorrow. I've been uploading, and I hope you guys are enjoying the different videos and stuff. There's so much more to come. I feel like I live on social media these days, but that's quite all right. I'm enjoying every minute of it, and I hope that you guys are too. So we checked out the lighthouse. We probably spent about an hour at that park checking out the lighthouse, and it was so cool. And the weather was absolutely unbelievable. Once again, here's another day where we had these clear blue skies, and you could just see for miles. So to have that kind of weather at every place that we visited it was an absolute blessing to us. And we were truly grateful because, man, it just made the experience that much more over the top. But we definitely enjoyed. There's more lighthouses in Maine, and I would love to go do the lighthouse tour and check out more of the lighthouses. That was just so cool to me because it was an actual bucket list item that's here in the U.S. I mean, I've got bucket list trips in my head, but they're all abroad. But this was something that was just wow. I will never forget being able to stand in front of that lighthouse, checking that out, and the blue water slashing up across those rocks. Just unreal. If you ever get a chance to go, this is definitely a place that's right here in the U.S., and it's so accessible to get to. It's just, you got to go check it out. Okay, so then, we go check out the lighthouse, and now because we're kind of a little bit chilled, it's time to go and get something to eat. And so we went to Portland, and it's about 15 minutes away from Cape Elizabeth. We drove into Portland, and we saw some really unique gift shops and stuff, and so we were all excited about that. And so that's when we kind of decided, hey, let's kind of borrow a couple of hours from Boston and check out some more of Portland in the morning. But right now, let's find something to eat. So I had researched before we went, and I found a restaurant. It was on the water. When I say it's on the water, it's on the water. There's actually already a Culinary Highway episode of that. It's called DeMillo's. DeMillo's on the Water. DIMILLOS. And that restaurant was so cool. And the food was, I got to say, I live in North Carolina now, and, we have fresh seafood here. I grew up in Texas on the coast. We had fresh seafood. But the lobster to me is as good in Maine as the shrimp is on the coast in Texas. That's how good. So those of you that live in Texas and fresh shrimp when you bite into it, same way with this lobster. It was more tender. It had that subtle sweetness to it. It just was melt in your mouth, just unbelievably good. I don't think I've had lobster before, not like that. So now if I ever eat lobster anywhere else in the States, I'm going to be like, it's not going to measure up. And it's the same way with shrimp. Sometimes I get shrimp that's, been frozen for a while, and I grew up on the coast with fresh shrimp. I'm like, you have to add more tartar sauce and more cocktail sauce to it, to cover up the not so fresh taste, I guess. But the lobster in Portland was just unbelievable. I have never put anything in my mouth so delicious as that lobster meat. Wow. But we went to DeMillo's, and It was absolutely phenomenal. We sat on because it is an actual boat, and we sat on the outer ring, but they had these plastic curtains where they could keep us warm because it was even getting more chilly as the sun set. But the sunset views, the the whole vibe of being on that boat and on the water there on the eastern seaboard was just, it just added to the experience even more. But I remember Danny had these twin lobsters, and I don't know if they were actual twins, but they called them twin lobsters. They kind of did look alike. But one of them was steamed and one of them was stuffed, which is what I was after we got through eating. I was stuffed like that lobster. And it was just unbelievable how good that seafood was. I think Kelly had a seafood platter. Melody had she had the scallops, and of course, you know me, I want some more lobster. So I did. I had this fried lobster, and I'm thinking a lot of times when you fry lobster, you have good intentions. It sounds good. The thought of it sounds good, but you can overcook lobster so easily that I thought, I'm going to take a chance here because these people know what they're doing with lobster meat. And sure enough, I was not wrong. That lobster meat, it was so lightly breaded and fried, and it was just so tender. And they had two different butters. They had a regular lemon butter, and then they had a honey butter. And both of them were really good. But wow, I mean, that lobster was just so tender, even being fried, because I've had fried lobster tail before, and it's kind of tough. This was not tough. This was like the filet mignon of the filet mignons, or we could say the filet mignon of the sea. But either way you want to call it, it was absolutely unbelievable. It was, I think to this point, I think it's the best food that I have ever eaten in my life when it comes to lobster, because it was just, and I had no idea what was coming the next day that was even going to top this. But wow, DeMillo's was on point, and it was definitely a place you should check out if you go to Portland. Now, the next morning, we got up and we wanted to explore Portland, and we said, well, we'll take a couple of hours. Well, I think we wound up and stayed a little more than a couple of hours, but we were okay with it. So there's a place in Portland called the Holy Donut. Now, if you're familiar with this, because there's a lot of hype on it on social media, and what makes this donut so unique is that it is made from potato flour. So it's not your traditional wheat flour like we have here in the States. It's a little heavier. I'm not gonna lie about that. You could almost throw it at somebody and probably hurt them, but it is a very heavy donut. But it is a very unique taste. They've got a ton of different flavor options and toppings, et cetera, et cetera. The one thing that a couple of us were a little I won't say disappointed, but when you look forward to something, they were out of a lot of flavors early in the morning. And we didn't realize until after that they may be out of it at that particular moment, but they cook donuts all day long. So if they don't have it when you stand in line, you can literally get out of line, wait 30 minutes and go back and check again. But unfortunately, we didn't have that particular amount of time to be able to do something like that. But if you go and there's a certain donut, because there was a bacon donut that I wanted, that I had my heart set on the bacon donut. And, they didn't have it. Well, they said they didn't have it. I thought, well, they don't have it anymore today. Well, then I come to find out, if you would just wait 30 minutes and go back, you could probably get one. I was like, we didn't have the luxury of time on our side that particular day. So when I go back to Portland, I'm getting that bacon donut. You hear me. I promise you, it is on my list. So go back for the bacon donut and the other lighthouses. Okay, so there is a ton of unique gift shops in Portland. Some of the most unique merchandise in gift shops that I mean, I've been in gift shops basically all over the globe, and I've seen a lot of different unique merchandise. But I gotta say, Portland, I don't know how they did it, but there was a lot of unique merchandise in their shops and stuff that you don't find at home. So I thought that was really cool. So we had a great matter of fact. There's one souvenir shop called the Blue Lobster. If you go to Portland, definitely check out the Blue Lobster. That was a really cool shop, and the people in there were super friendly. I'm not sure who laughed more, but it was a lot of fun. But the Blue Lobster, definitely check it out. And they've got stuff in there for your pets. I mean, you could get a gift for anybody in there. So we did some more shopping, and we said, well, we'll shop up until about time for lunch. We'll have lunch, and then we'll skedaddle on over to Boston. And so we decided we wanted more lobster. And you can't go to Portland, Maine, and not have a lobster roll. And this was the thing that was part of my bucket list trip, was to have a lobster roll on the waterfront at a lobster shack. I don't think you could call this place a shack because it was a really nice restaurant on the water, but it's called Luke's Lobster Roll, Luke, Luke's Lobster. And I got to tell you, those lobster rolls, I can see why people talk about those things. Wow, that was the most incredible lobster roll I ever had in my life. And I got the trio where it was like 3 half lobster rolls, and one was a spicy, which is what I like, and then one was had a honey butter, and one had a lemon butter. So then we had a couple of traditional lobster rolls. The girls got one of them. I think Kelly got a clam chowder, and Melody got a lobster bisque. Go look at the video on Culinary Highway. Go check that video out and look, because you're not going to believe me. But go look at the amount of lobster in that lobster bisque. Because here in the States, when you get lobster bisque, it looks like a cup of soup. This had, I almost expect them to pull up the whole lobster out of that cup. Same thing with the clam chowder. I mean, it was just so chunky, so full of clams, and it was just unbelievable. And then, of course, I think Kelly also had a lobster grilled cheese. Let me tell you, there was more lobster than there was grilled cheese. It's insane. But those lobster rolls, that lobster meat, you just take a piece of that lobster meat and just big chunks and just take a bite of it. And it was just melt in your mouth like cotton candy. It was like cotton candy from the sea. It's just, I don't know how else to describe it to you other than wow. It was definitely a wow experience. I'm really glad that, that lobster roll, that we did find the best, and they were actually voted in 23 as the best lobster roll in Portland. And I believe it, because that was absolutely the best thing I've ever eaten when it comes to seafood. It's just, I mean, it was better than a bacon cheeseburger. I kid you not. I'm not kidding. I could sit there every day and have lobster rolls for breakfast if I had to. It was phenomenal. But if you go to Portland, you have to go check out Luke's Lobster on the waterfront. And the cool part about Luke's is they are sustainable and traceable, because they only buy their lobster and their fish from their trusted partners, because they make sure that those fishing boats, they do their practices where they are, in other words, preserving. They're not harming the environment when they're trying to harvest these lobsters and stuff. And I know they got some terminology for it, but it's nice to know that they are being responsible in how because let me tell you, if I lived in Portland, they would probably cut me off of eating lobster, because you're going to make these go extinct if you keep eating. So there is that, because to me now, Portland are true Maine lobster in Maine, not just brought here by a boat and a truck and a caravan. I'm talking about fresh out of the water from Maine. Lobster is right up there with bacon. I never thought I would find another meat that would be so valuable as bacon. I mean, I think bacon should be currency in my own world. If I had my own island, bacon would be currency, and the lobster meat from Maine, that would be like gold. So there's that. Yes, I do. I guess I do value food pretty highly, but I'm telling you, folks, Portland, Maine, it did not disappoint, because it was a definite bucket list trip for me to go and see the things in Portland, Maine. And I want to go back and I want to see some more of Maine. I want to drive the coast of Maine and see other lighthouses and see what else that Maine has to offer, because I know there's some seaside villages and stuff in Maine that we weren't near that I would just love to go check out. That's what I keep telling you is, this is what travel is all about. It's, it's not expensive to go and travel in Maine and check out the different things. And you could literally spend a long weekend in Maine. And of course, if you live in California or Texas or something, I realize that you're going to have quite the airfare. But if you live anywhere toward on the eastern side of the U.S., wow, you've got to plan a trip to go to Maine. It is absolutely beautiful. And like I said, I want to go more in the summertime, to kind of see what it's like with warmer temperatures. It wasn't cold, but it could get a little nippy in the evenings with the wind and what have you, because we had incredible weather, blue skies. I think the temps were probably during the daytime were in the mid 70s, 74, 75. I could not have ordered better weather off of Amazon, but you got to go check out Portland, Maine. Check out the Portland Head Lighthouse. Go stay at the Higgins Beach Inn. Absolutely phenomenal people. Great place to stay. It gave you you knew you were staying on the eastern coast, near the beach. I mean, it's just a stone's throw away from the Atlantic Ocean. That's 3 word salads in this podcast. I am just ashamed of myself, but I'll try and do better next week. But until next week, and when we start talking about the 2-segment part of Boston, yeah, I'm going to be wicked smart on that one. But hey, until next week, y'all have a great day. Do not forget to caffeinate and conquer. Have a lobster roll on me, and I will see you again next week. Have a great day. Bye-bye.